Well, there will be many reunions and new adventures to be made now that the U.S. borders are open again for the first time since the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right. The U.S. lifting restrictions on travel for many countries, including Mexico, Canada, and several European countries. Joining us live now to discuss more is immigration attorney Steve Maggi. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Always a pleasure.
Now, when we say we're opening up U.S. borders, we mean opening to vaccinated international travelers, right?
Correct. You have to have a vaccination, either one of the three types that were used in the U.S. or anything that was accepted by the World Health Organization. So they have a list of accepted vaccines by the WHO, has to be one of those. And you also have to have a negative COVID test before you travel, 72 hours or less before traveling.
Okay, so now my question is, you know, everyone's talking about this. People they have relatives abroad. They've been separated for over a year, 2 years. Does your office, well, I'm assuming your office is going to be very busy, right?
We have been very busy just trying to hold clients' hands because they didn't know what to do when they were stuck overseas. A lot of people left right before COVID hit, and then they couldn't come back because of these executive orders that put a bar on direct entry from 36 countries. And then, of course, a lot of these countries had their own restrictions where they were forcing people to quarantine and not allowing them to leave. So now that those countries opened up, the U.S. really followed suit finally. And as of yesterday, November 8th, they're allowing people to fly directly into the U.S. from all those countries that were blocked. And that has a huge impact on Florida as well. A lot of people who live here obviously have relatives overseas. It also has an effect on business because there's so much foreign direct investment in the state of Florida that's coming from other countries.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's going to be very busy at airports, I can imagine. Do you have any advice for families who have relatives coming over right now, and what are the requirements and paperwork that they need, if you could give some advice when they come here to the United States?
I think people get so excited they forget that they need visas to enter the U.S. A lot of people's visas lapsed. We have a lot of visitors in Florida from the UK and Europe, and a lot of them have what's called visa waiver. It's a program called ESTA that doesn't require a visa, but they have to keep it active every 2 years. They have to reapply, and a lot of people get so excited they book a flight and they realize that their ESTA is expired, or maybe their visa is expired. Visas are very hard to get because the embassies are so backed up right now, and so they need to make sure they have their papers in order, on top of having the vaccine and the negative COVID test.
Right. Don't go booking that flight without checking your visa, because like you said, that does take time, and especially now since there's a backlog. So that's really good advice. I think people don't think about that. Let's shift over and pivot to jobs. What is this reopening going to mean for jobs in the United States?
Well, there are more than 7 million jobs that have been created by foreign direct investment from other countries. And there are investment-based visas that are used in order to let people open new U.S. companies or expand their existing companies from other countries, and that creates jobs, a lot of jobs. In Florida, it's about 350,000 jobs that have been created, and there's over $10 billion per year that's being invested. So that money was on the sidelines for the last 20 months, and people are desperate now to come to the U.S. to suss out the possibilities of investment, to talk to potential people, to do business, to negotiate, to acquire companies. And that will lead to a lot of new jobs, which is very important because, as you know, Florida is expected to increase in population by 6 million by 2030. That means a lot of new jobs will need to be available. And this foreign direct investment will allow that to happen. But they need their visas to do it, and they need to come here first to negotiate, to investigate in order to make the right decisions, and then create those U.S. companies that create American jobs. There's a lot of people that I work with that have been waiting all this time to be able to travel to the U.S. in order to put that business plan into motion, which will create a lot of jobs here in Florida.
All right. Steve, we're almost out of time. Do you have anything else you'd like our viewers to know before we wrap up?
I think there's a lot of paranoia out there about whether this might be reverted, if they might change their mind. I think that there's no going back now. So if you have an opportunity, you have your visa or your visa waiver in place, book your tickets, come to the U.S., spend your money, invest. You have nothing to worry about now.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve Maggi, immigration lawyer here on the Suncoast. Thank you so much for your advice and insight tonight.